Welcome to the fourth week of Irish Football Weekly. I'm your host, or co-host, Josh Benjamin, I should say. Got another host, an awesome guy that you all probably know, a former tight end for the Irish, Tony Hunter. He played with the Irish teams from 79 to 82. Was also a first-round draft pick in the Buffalo Bills organization in 1983. Tony, what do you got to say?
Oh, I tell you what, I'm feeling good today watching some NFL football, but I tell you what, as I reflect back on that game yesterday against Boston College, I'm really feeling good about us. I'm really feeling good about our offense, and there's a few things that I think we need to do is to get better and to take on some much better competition as we move through the schedule. Passing the ball would be one of those things, but I'm encouraged with the way we're playing. We're playing good, solid Notre Dame football.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to that in just here in a second. Just want to tell all of our listeners the different medias in which they can listen to us. Obviously, our website, thegruelingtruth.net. The other medias are Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, Google Music, iHeartRadio, and also there's an app out there. If you have the iPhones, you can go to the App Store and download the Grueling Truth app and listen to not just our show, but tons of other shows that have some awesome insight on those as well. So good stuff there. But let's go ahead and talk about that 49-20 win over Boston College. First away game of the season. Didn't know how they were going to react. It was 14-10 at halftime, and then it just came on loose. So let's talk about that game, Tony.
Yeah, you know what? I was really happy to see that the offensive coordinator came out in the third quarter, and he kept putting the pressure on. He kept throwing the football. I mean, it was really we were aggressive offensively, and that's something that I've been looking to see, and I think we eventually wore Boston College down with our size and athletic ability, but to put up 49 points, Josh, that's a lot of points, especially if you're mainly just running the football. And Boston College, they had some pretty good football players out there.
Oh, definitely. And going along with that offensive side, since we're talking about it right now, Notre Dame had 526 yards rushing, and I talked on our previous show about how I couldn't really hold that standard towards them when it comes to having those big rushing games because of the very first game of the season against Temple. They had over 400 yards, and we kind of took a step back in Georgia, and then, wow, we just exploded in the rushing game here with Josh Adams and Brandon Wimbush both having over 200 yards rushing. So,
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, Brandon Wimbush, he surprised me with his speed. I didn't know he was quite that fast, but on a few of those breakaway runs that he had, he was outrunning quarterbacks. Well, as far as Josh Adams is concerned, man, he's playing his heart out. He's playing some good, solid football. But you know what? I'm a little worried he may be carrying a little too much of the load right now. And as the season goes on, I don't want to jinx him, but I wish they would put Dexter Williams in there a little bit to give him more of a breather. And I think he'll be even more effective if he gets that time off. And I think those two guys together, Josh Adams and Dexter Williams, kind of alternating or letting Dexter spell him every so often, I think that'll make our running game even more impressive.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one of the things they could do is, give Josh Adams 2 series and then let him take off a full series and then get back at it and kind of go that route. But,
right.
Dexter
I think that'll keep that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh.
That's all right. I was just going to say Dexter had 6 carries for 50 yards, which is outstanding, and that's the type of production we need from all of our backs. And like you said, include him in a little bit more so that Josh Adams can have the duration of the season when it comes to being able to play. And
right, that brace that Josh wears on his knee, I'm not sure what was wrong with his knee, but that brace concerns me. I think he was doing a little bit in that game, and I don't know, the kid's playing outstanding football. Let's keep him healthy. Let's and you have another guy in Dexter Williams that's just dying to contribute. And when you have a guy like that that's dying to get out there to play, to contribute, he's only going to help your football team. And I think by him playing more, it'll keep Josh fresh and in our lineup throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and that will definitely help, like you said, throughout the whole season. And, having 51 carries as a team and having 526 yards and basically averaging a first down every time they ran the ball is outstanding. So one of the things that I want to say that got my eye was at the press conference after the game, Coach Kelly told the media at halftime they went over and talked to the offensive line and said, you guys are our leaders. They had the most experience as far as a position group on the team and said, you got to carry us here. And those guys stepped up big time and gave those running lanes for those running backs and Brandon. And kudos to those guys for kind of getting back into the swing of things and being successful, because I don't think the Georgia game, and that could have been credit to the Georgia defense, but they kind of fell back a little bit and then turned it on here in the second half of the Boston College game.
Oh yeah. They're that offensive line. The Notre Dame offensive line is an experienced group, and they're playing good football right now. But as we move along in the season, I mean, the way we're running the football, we're going to start encountering a lot more men in the box, a lot more people focused on stopping that run. And I just think we need to sprinkle in some passing plays, and I really think we need to get St. Brown more involved in the game. He's a game breaker, man. He's a special player, and so far this year, doesn't look like he's comfortable within the offense, or he and Brandon Wimbush aren't on the same page just yet. And I think what they need to do is, the coaching staff, they need to get St. Brown involved in the offense early. Throw him a 5-yard hitch pattern, a 3-yard hitch pattern. Let him run a reverse or something. But get this guy involved in our offense and get he and Brandon Wimbush on the same page, because we're going to need a passing game as we go down the stretch, and as the competition gets stiffer. They'll be throwing a lot more men in that box, and they'll make it impossible for us to run the football. So we're going to have to be able to pass it.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because when I was on Facebook yesterday, and by the way, listeners, you can add us on Facebook. Look for Tony Hunter or Josh Benjamin. Also, I have Twitter at CoachJB4. But to go along with what you said there, Tony, Brandon was 11 of 24, so he was under 50% completion percentage there, and he was at 50 last game. I think that needs to get, I think the offense, as far as a passing game standpoint comes, is they need to give him passes that he can complete and get comfortable and not have to scramble all the time and make those runs, which are outstanding. He's a great athlete, but I think that for the duration of the season, they need to get that, like you said, the passing game intact and getting, especially St. Brown. He only had one catch for 3 yards.
I know, and that's unacceptable. He's too good of an athlete, too good of a player. Man, he's a playmaker. You saw him last year. This guy can take over a game, but he just looks uncomfortable right now in that offense. And he and Brandon, they aren't on the same page as of yet, but they can get it. They can get it done. But I think you just need to get him involved in the offense early and go from there.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think those guys, as a coaching staff, will understand that and get that back in the perspective and get back to being multi-dimensional and going from there. So, St. Brown was a dominant player with Kaiser throwing him the football last year. I mean, he could take over games, so it's there. It's there, but I think he's just a little uncomfortable right now, and those guys need to get together after practice, Wimbush and St. Brown, and just get,
let Wimbush get comfortable with throwing him the football and focus on throwing him the football and get him involved in the game. We're going to need him.
Absolutely. And I'm going to kind of segue into the defense a little bit, if you don't mind, Tony.
Sure.
I was going to touch on just a couple stats that were kind of eye-opening to me. Personally, I thought overall they played pretty well. They did give up 400 yards of offense to the Boston College Eagles, and that's a little disheartening. I didn't even realize that, but I guess that's a good thing if you didn't realize that they gave up that many yards and gave up 20 points, and they ended up winning by 29. So,
Right. You know what, though, Josh? When I look at this year's defense, when I'm just kind of watching the game, and I remember last year's defense, I mean, the difference is like night and day. I think our guys are flying around out there, and they're hitting people, and they're having fun. They look relaxed. They're getting after the quarterback. They're a lot better defense than we were last year. Guys aren't just coming in the game, the running backs, quarterback, week in and week out having career days against our defense. And that's nice to see. So we're getting after people on the defensive side of the ball.
One of the stats that stands out in a positive note is the third down conversions for Boston College. They were 4 of 17, so a very, very low percentage of them getting that first down in the third down area. And the red zone scoring, basically they were 1 for 3, the Boston College offense, when it comes to scoring a touchdown, which is outstanding for the defense, as opposed to our 6 for 6 in the red zone for touchdowns as far as the Irish did this past game.
Oh, is that 6 for 6? Wow.
Yeah, 6 for 6 is awesome. Obviously, 100% is excellent. So if they keep that up, it's going to be hard for them to beat, regardless of how that defense plays.
Yeah. But we're much better, Josh, defensively than we were last year. It's like night and day.
Yeah, I agree. The attitude, and I think we talked about that on Facebook a little bit. The attitude is just way different. I think the off-season program probably had a role in that. I think the coaching staff change. I think the new strength coach. I think we got a new strength coach or whatever, but we look a lot stronger out there. And but I think it's made a huge difference. The weightlifting coach change, and guys, I hear they're stronger. They look different than they did last year. I know, just kind of looking at some guys on the field this year, I think Josh Adams looks different to me than he did last year. He looks quicker. He looks faster. And quite a few guys, they seem to look a little different than they did last year. And I think you can give the strength coach credit for that. Oh, yeah. And then I was just looking at some other stats on defense, and there were 7 guys from the defense that had 5 or more total tackles, and I think that's great. There's quite a few tackles for loss.
Wow.
I mean, so they, like you said, they're getting after the ball, getting a team to the ball, and as a defensive coordinator, I think that's outstanding. That hopefully they present that to them and say, hey, we're getting guys to the football. We're having a lot of assist tackles, which means there's multiple guys with their nose at the ball right there, being able to rally up the troops on defense.
Yes, and I'm seeing some pretty good cornerback play too this year. Some good man-to-man coverage. And that was another thing that I noticed last year. I don't think we were getting very good quarterback play, but that's been much improved this year. So. Yeah,
and with the go along with the defense, the quarterback hurries and sacks are continuing to be consistent for the most part. And then, like you said, with the secondary, it seems like after last year they were pretty young guys. They got all that experience, and now they're starting to gel a little bit and be able to help out each other and be able to know what's going on mentally, not just physically.
Oh yeah. We just overall, Josh, I think we're looking like a top 20 football program again, and man, if we could have pulled out that Georgia game, which I thought we should have won, but if we could have pulled that one out, we might be at 14 or 15 and looking to get in the top 10 in a couple weeks or so if we kept winning. So, but we can get back on track. We just need to keep winning. And this next one against Michigan State is a big one because, boy, I tell you, whenever we used to go up to Michigan State to play, they were always a different team as opposed to when they came to Notre Dame. They played with a lot more zest when you went into Lansing, Michigan to play Michigan State. They would really get after it up there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you kind of segued into that because they do go up there this year. They play at Michigan State in Spartan Stadium this coming weekend, the 23rd September at 8 p.m., and it's going to be on Fox this time. So a later game, and they're kind of used to that when they play Michigan State usually, but a later game now, a little bit cooler. Maybe that'll affect some differences and maybe it'll keep them ready to go when it comes to the energy level. But they go up there, and they kind of owe these guys something from last year. Is that correct?
What was that again now?
I said that basically they owe them from last year, correct, as far as this game?
Yeah. I have a friend that played for Michigan State. He just sent me a text earlier, and he's talking about how Michigan State and India going at it again this year and how Michigan State was going to beat up on us again this year. So, but I can remember back when I was at Notre Dame, we went up to Michigan State one time, and Carl Banks, the all-pro linebacker that played for the Giants with Lawrence Taylor, man, he had those guys so fired up on that Michigan State defense. I mean, we had a war that day. I can remember, and we talked about, a lot of my teammates and I, we talked about that game for a long, long time because of how physical it was. And it's just something about Notre Dame coming into Michigan State that gets those guys fired up. So it'll be a big test, and we better be ready.
Oh, yeah. Any time a team coached by Coach Mark D'Antonio, it seems like they're very hard-nosed, seems like they're very physical, and they know their assignment football team. They know their assignment, and they do it really well. And trying to get those guys back from a 36-28 loss from last year up at home,
right.
They go on the road to try to take care of these guys. And something that stands out for me when I look at this matchup, Michigan State, their defense is pretty good. They basically average 12 points per game when they give away. So, and we're at 18.7 as far as the defense. So it seems like two pretty good defenses going up against each other.
It'll be a big test. I remember Mark D'Antonio when he was here in Cincinnati. He coached University of Cincinnati. But I can remember, too, how long? I'm not sure how long he's been at Michigan State, but I remember, too, he beat us with a fake field goal, and I think that was at Notre Dame. And, man, did he get a kick out of that to end the game. He beat us with a fake field goal. He got a big kick out of that. So I think he really gets a kick out of beating Notre Dame, but I think this year we're coming in with a little more firepower, and we should be able to get it done.
Yeah, and coming off this win should kind of catapult them into having some more confidence and on both sides of the ball. But like you said, getting that offensive passing game in check and getting that back as a consistency for this offense will be important, especially as we go along in the season, like you said, with being one-dimensional. And going up against this tough team, 12 points a game, that's very eye-opening. And I'm a little worrisome about that because of the one-dimensional play that we've had recently, and we need to get that passing game back into play.
Oh, yeah, we're going to need it. And teams, I tell you, with that good offensive line that we have, it's tough to stop the run, but teams can start crowding up in that box and make it almost impossible for you to run. So you're going to have to be able to pass the football. And I think just getting St. Brown more involved and getting the receivers more involved. As far as Wimbush throwing the football, his mechanics look fine to me. He looks like he can really wing that thing down the field. So I think it's just a matter of him getting his confidence up and more play action stuff. Since we're such a a good running team. I think having Wimbush do a little, some more play action stuff and then stepping back and throwing the football instead of a 7-step drop, pocket type passing. I don't think that's his forte, but I think it will play to his advantage if he's doing a lot more play action stuff where he's running and dropping back and passing the football. And I think he'll be a lot more effective doing that.
Along with that, I think the position group that we need to look at for this week, going back to these guys, the experienced guys, is the offensive linemen and making sure they set that tone quick on this Michigan State defensive line and front seven as a whole. I just think that'll help out Brandon. He's still working on becoming comfortable, especially in that pocket, like you said, and making some rollout plays and getting him more comfortable throwing the football. But I think up front, I think that's the key to this week. If we had to pick a position group, that it would be the offensive lineman going up against that front seven of Michigan State.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I've been impressed with Brandon. Been pleasantly surprised with his overall athletic ability and his speed. So there's a lot that you can do. I bet he's probably a 4.4, 4.3 40 type guy. A little faster than I thought he would be. And a wonderful athlete. I bet he was an incredible athlete in high school. Probably played basketball, track, the whole works. But, I just think the offensive line, we have a good one. And they're doing a fantastic job because the numbers that we're putting up right now on offense rushing the football, they're historical, all-time best at a school that's been playing football for a really, really long time.
Yeah, definitely. And the Notre Dame offense is averaging 39 points a game right now, which is outstanding.
Wow.
Outstanding.
Just run, and we just run the football mainly.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a kind of the good thing and the bad thing, I guess. The good thing is that we still have more areas to improve when it comes to that. So
Right. I mean, we're doing so well running the football. We don't want to just kind of get stuck in doing just that because, as you know, as the season wears on and the competition gets stiffer, we're going to have to be more than one-dimensional on offense and be able to throw that football.
Definitely. And so the Michigan State offense, we haven't talked about them a whole bunch. They're averaging 31, almost 32 points a game, which is pretty good as well. And so that defense, more specifically, needs to make sure they keep things in check because that Michigan State offense, they're pretty balanced. They yards passing, they average about almost 210, and yards rushing, they average about 250. So pretty even for the most part. So they need to definitely hone in on a couple things and stay locked in on those and adapt as the game goes on when it comes to either, shutting down the running game or shutting down the passing, just making them one-dimensional. And I'm pretty certain that Michigan State defense is going to try to make Brandon Wimbush win the game on the passing game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mark D'Antonio's a good coach, and Michigan State, that's Big Ten football, so that's big-time football. And D'Antonio is a great recruiter. He's got some players on that roster. And like I said, anytime Notre Dame goes into Michigan State, expect a fight because they'll be ready. So it'll be a great test. But it's a game that we need in order to start moving up in the polls and try to position ourselves to be in the fight at the end of the season.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a tough game for sure, and I think that that depending on how we show up and how we play and how we prepare, it'll be a good game for sure. So, speaking of tough, we have the three toughest picks. We weren't able to do it last week, but we can this week, obviously. So let me kind of recap the record here, Tony, and
okay.
I'd rather not say on the air, but I guess I have to. I got to own this a little bit. So I'm 3-6, which is almost abysmal to say the best. And you're the opposite. You're 6-3. You're doing a nice job. So kudos to you and your abilities there. So
far so good, but it's so far so good, Josh. It's such a crazy season, though. You never know what's going to happen.
That's true. I may get another win or two. We'll see though. But
yeah,
we got 3 good ones this time. We have TCU, Texas Christian, at Oklahoma State. So that's one of the tough games this week on the schedule. So TCU is going on the road to play at Oklahoma State. I'm going to take the home team here. I don't know too much about TCU at this point. I know that they're always strong. I know that they're always in the games when it comes to these type of Big 12 opponents. But I'm going to take Oklahoma State because, well, they're the home team, and I'm a Bengals fan.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know a lot about TCU either. But Oklahoma State has a receiver that I really like, and I think I'm going to go with Oklahoma State on that one.
All right, so we both pick OK State there, and that's that one. Like I said, I think I picked OK State because they're orange and black, and my favorite NFL team, unfortunately, at this point in my life, is still the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, my goodness.
That could be another show, Tony, that we could talk about for hours when it comes to
Oh, my goodness. I know. I tell you, the fans are screaming, fire Marvin and bench Andy Dalton. It's just they're ready to be done with it around here in Cincinnati. They're ready to start over.
Yeah, so but I pick OK State for that reason. Second game, it's actually going to be a great SEC matchup. Mississippi State playing at Georgia. We know what Georgia is like. Mississippi State just literally just ran over LSU 37-7 in the past week. And so we got a real tough matchup. Mississippi State at Georgia. Tony, I'm going to let you pick first.
Mississippi State at Georgia. I'll take Georgia at home. I still see all the red jerseys in our stands. They're fired up about football down there with the Bulldogs, and they're coming off a big win against us. So I'm going to take Georgia in that.
All right. Well, Mississippi State, I watched most of that game, and I was very impressed with the way they played. And like you said, we've seen Georgia already, so I've seen both teams. I can't go away from Mississippi State. I'm going to have to pick against you here and try to catch up a little bit. But
okay.
Mississippi State looked pretty good, so I'm going to go with them. We got our final tough pick of the week, UCLA at Stanford. A real good matchup. Two teams that are, on the cusp of being in top 25 or fallen a little bit. So UCLA at Stanford, Tony, who you got?
Man, I think UCLA just lost again, didn't they?
So did Stanford. So.
Yeah. They're on the hot seat in both places. But is it at Stanford or at UCLA?
It is at Stanford this time. So.
It's at Stanford. Okay.
Yes,
I'm going to have to go with Stanford. I'm going to have to go with Stanford at home.
All right. So you take Stanford. I bet on Stanford earlier this year beating USC in our three toughest pick segment a couple weeks ago. I'm going to have to go against them here. I'm going with UCLA. They hurt me pretty bad. They're the reason why I'm 3-6, Tony, not because I'm not very good at picking games,
I read something where UCLA, man, they're ready to get rid of that coach out there. A lot of the fans are screaming for his head right now, and I forget his name right now, but he's I thought he would do a good job out there with UCLA, but they're having a tough start to the season.
Yeah, I think it's Jim Moore.
Moore, Jim Moore Jr. Right.
Yep. So I'm with you on that. So
I thought he would do a great job out there. I thought, I played out in L.A. and just looking at the talent that's out there. Man, UCLA, I mean, they've got all those junior colleges up and down the coast in California, and the talent that's in L.A., that's available to you in L.A., you would think that he would have everything that he needs at UCLA to get the job done, but they're off to a rocky start.
Yeah, I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. With his pedigree, his background, you thought that maybe he would be able to turn that thing around, but we'll find out. We'll see this Saturday if they can get Stanford knocked off there at their place. So,
yeah.
So we go to our favorite time of the show, at least. I always say that, Tony. I don't even know if it's your favorite time. It may not be, but I like to say it is. It's the Irish prediction time.
Yes. I love this time. And you are, I tell you what, you're coming pretty close with your predictions as far as that offense exploding and putting up points. But, man, it'll be interesting to see if we continue to put up that many points. Just running the football. I'll tell you what, I don't think we can continue to put up 49 and 50 points just running the football. We need to start mixing in a little pass, get the receivers more involved in the offense. But I would take Notre Dame, I would say 35 points. 35, and at Michigan State, I think it's going to be a little closer. 35-24, Notre Dame.
All right. So let me get this correct. You have Notre Dame winning, of course, with 35 points. Michigan State having 24. So you have the Irish going up there and taking a win away from the Spartans to put them at 2-1. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, just going off stats here, and I'm kind of a stat guy sometimes. Both defenses are pretty decent. They don't give up a whole bunch. I'm going to go off the stats, and I'm going to say it's not going to be very high scoring. I think that both defenses will keep it in check. I also think that the small things may come into play here, such as penalties and turnovers and some special teams play. So I'm going to say Notre Dame 17, Michigan State 14. So
17-14. Wow. Yeah, that's a defensive battle right there. That's interesting. And it'll be interesting to see if we can, Notre Dame can continue to put up these record-breaking numbers on offense the way we have been. So.
Yeah, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope they score a bunch, but I also hope Michigan State scores not as much. So, so I like both of our predictions there. We both got the Irish winning this week up at Michigan State and Spartan Stadium. So we kind of have the fun fact for the finish, and I think most fans might know this. It's not really that eye-opening, but both of these coaches at one point in their coaching career were the head coach at the University of Cincinnati. So that's my
that's right.
for this week. So yeah, both coaches were head coaches, Brian Kelly and Mark Antonio at one point. We're at the University of Cincinnati. So there's my.
That's right. The stepping stone school. Everybody goes to Cincinnati and then winds up somewhere else to stay for a longer time. But that's right. I hadn't thought about that. Brian Kelly and.
Yep. So that kind of concludes our show a little bit. When I say a little bit, I mean the whole show. It's done. So we're going to close it up here. Don't forget to check out our website, everybody, thegruelingtruth.net. Which has tons of shows. It has both of our shows. Tony does an LA Rams show, and I do kind of my own show with some different topics there, and those are always on our website. You can also catch our shows on Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Music if you want to go that route, iTunes if you're an Apple person. There's also an app in the App Store for Apple users called the Grueling Truth app. You can get that. You can listen to our shows and subscribe there. Also, iHeartRadio, which is awesome, too. So tons of media, tons of places to find it. You can also get us on Facebook. We talk with tons of different Irish football fans. There's tons of groups out there that on Facebook that are Irish football lovers. So you can catch us on Facebook as well. Also, I have Twitter at CoachJB4. You can follow me there as well. But that concludes our show for today. For my co-host, Tony Hunter, this is Josh Benjamin signing off for Irish Football Weekly. Go Irish!
Go Irish!